Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything in between, welcome to episode 3 of the Stay Positive Podcast. I am your host, Alex, joined by Pete. Introduce yourself, Pete.
Yo, why was that so peppy? That reminds me of those high school pep rallies, or just announcer.
Should I?
Like from a boxing match, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it's like, let's get ready
Yeah.
to rumble.
That was basically that. That was really... I'm proud of you, man. It was very enthusiastic.
What, should I go back to, hey guys, welcome to...
No, yeah, just very...
you gotta spice it up
dead.
sometimes. You gotta give them what's unexpected. They'll think I'm a boring person, which is true, but they don't need to know that, Pete.
Well, welcome, and boy, do we have a plethora of topics to discuss today.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
So last week we talked about happiness because we are mental gurus who know everything about everything.
Yeah, I have a PhD in happiness.
It's true. It's true. Not a lot of people have those, but we certainly do.
Yeah.
Because we gave them out to ourselves. Anyway.
Yeah.
A perfect segue is now to the chemical explanation of happiness, aka dopamine. Pete, I've heard something recently by you. It's called dopamine fasting. What the heck is that?
Well,
I thought dopamine...
I don't know if happiness is necessarily correlated to dopamine.
Dopamine
I might be totally wrong.
Dopamine is like the happiness drug. Whenever you're
Well,
happy,
it's not a
dopamine
drug.
comes out.
It's not a drug.
Neurotransmitter, alright. Bill Nye, the science guy, alright?
I might be totally wrong on this, but I think serotonin is what controls happiness.
I thought serotonin is like the sad one.
Serotonin controls
Yeah.
emotion. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think they're both like go hand in hand, but dopamine is like the one that's in charge of addictions and stuff.
No, it is. Yeah, serotonin. I'm correct. Serotonin is the happy chemical.
Then what's dopamine?
It's the pleasure.
The pleasure.
It's so basically anything that gives you pleasure. That's what dopamine. Like dopamine just floods your brain.
And
like
what's
let's
serotonin?
say.
So
it's the happy chemical. So anything that makes you happy.
All right, so go get a bottle of some serotonin and inject it straight into your brain, and bada boom. That's the shortcut.
Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Lemon squeezy. No, but anyways, dopamine fasting. So I discovered this actually a few months ago, but I had no idea what it was. I was like, whoa, this is interesting. And typically this is not the type of thing you want to do if you've got like a lot of stuff going on in your life, because it's basically for one full day you go and just do nothing. You detach yourself from technology completely. You can't check your phone, you can't check your laptop, don't talk to people in any digital way. Like erase your digital footprint for one day essentially. And then on the other side, don't do anything that's actually pleasurable in any way, shape, or form. So no eating. Yeah, you can't eat a whole day. Only drink water.
What if you're hungry?
Oh, sad story. You can't. I guess moderate exercise is okay, but not enough to where you'll release endorphins into your head. Because you know what endorphins are. It's like
adrenaline.
Like, have you heard of runner's high?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that like just adrenaline?
I don't know for sure. I'm no doctor, but
it's weird to call it high because that's not how I feel. I just feel like you feel exhausted for like a long time, and then at some point it just gets easier, like all of a sudden, where you can like actually like breathe relatively easier than me when I'm hyperventilating my fat behind when I'm running a few miles, and it feels good, but like I don't feel high.
No.
Coming from someone who's never been high.
I mean, it's just definitely, it's a weird feeling. It just feels really good.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. I've actually had it before, but we'll talk about that right after. So yeah, you don't do anything for a full day. Like the only things you're really allowed to do are meditate, drink water, you can't read, obviously. Can't do for lack of better terms, any ways of pleasuring yourself. I think the audience can figure that one
Well
out.
put.
um, yeah, it's essentially you were just kind of suffering for a day in a way. Like you're just not allowing yourself to be pleasured in any way.
Why the heck
And
would I want to do that, Pete? It sounds
well,
stupid.
I'm glad you asked because it actually does sound incredibly stupid, but it has a pretty profound effect. So
Really?
you're starving yourself of dopamine
Yes.
for the purpose of kind of resetting like your whole system. So I actually did one I think about a month and a half ago. Um and all I did that whole day, I meditated a little bit. Pretty big on meditation actually. Started doing it a lot lately. I kind of walked around, just enjoyed a little bit of nature. I actually walked about a mile and a half to a really quiet place under a tree, meditated there for like
You're
an
allowed to
hour.
walk?
Well, I mean, what else is there to do? You're just gonna sit down and stare at the ceiling the whole time?
That's what I envisioned when you were describing it.
Well, no, you can do stuff that doesn't allow you to like what is pleasurable about walking necessarily?
The sight,
I mean,
nature, it's pretty cool.
this is more so just trying to get you away from technology and
Okay.
just kind of you're just like if you're a frequent social media user, for instance, this would be pretty useful for you. Or if you play video games all day every day and you don't have anything else to do in your life, or if you've been like very unmotivated, very lethargic, very lazy, this would be like a good hard reset essentially.
Okay.
And the reason why is so not only did I that day, not only did I not eat, not give myself any like pleasure of any sort, no food, no, just water, meditation. I also wrote a lot that day. So I did the whole physical part of it is the pleasure part, but the whole emotional, spiritual part is another thing in and of itself. And what I did was I basically wrote down like 5 questions because I watched this YouTube video and it was actually a pretty good video because it gave me a couple questions that I could think about throughout that day. And I just kind of journaled down answers to those questions. And it was mostly very self reflective uh, questions, just asking you about yourself and what you're feeling, what sensations. So, what pain am I feeling? Where is it? Why do I feel it? How can I fix it? What's the best case scenario if this pain persists, and what's the worst case scenario if it persists?
Okay, what am I feeling? Hungry. Best solution, eat something.
Well,
If it
yeah.
persists, eat more.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's one answer to it.
Brilliant. It's
But
like hitting yourself in the head with a hammer and being like, what is the pain you're feeling? Headache. How do you think to stop it? Stop hitting yourself in the head. What if it persists? Put the hammer down, you stupid idiot.
I mean, you're not wrong, but in this case, it's a little more profound because you want to think about all the stuff that's like bothering you in your life. Like, um, let's say you've been really unmotivated because of work or because of school, whatever it is. If you start thinking about it, yeah, it's unpleasant and it can bring back some either bad memories you've had, but or I guess just unpleasant experiences. But when you start thinking about it and then you just reflect on yourself, um, I think it's pretty enlightening. I think you can learn a lot about yourself. And I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, but knowing about yourself is one way to achieve like self mastery, of course.
In our opinions.
In our opinion, yeah, of course. What is your take on it?
On what?
On
Dopamine
on
fasting?
self reflection, I guess.
We already talked about that last week. It's
That's
fine.
fair. It's fine. It's okay.
We established I
Doesn't
have
care.
multiple personality disorder,
You?
according to Pete.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's possible.
it's fine. I hold them back from killing you, my other personalities. So don't worry about it.
Well, I'm glad that you're so generous.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah,
I read somewhere about dopamine fasting after you send me that link that The reason to do it is to like if you're on social media all the time, you're kind of dulled from dopamine, or it's like a drug addiction essentially. Like if you do a
Yeah,
drug for like if you keep doing a drug, eventually the effect wears off and you have to do more of the drug to get the same
exactly.
effect. So if you're on social media all the time, what ends up happening is now you need to be on social media. You eventually get, let's say you are on social media 1 hour a day. Eventually you get used to it. Your brain is not giving you the same pleasure 1 hour a day used to give you. So then you do 2 hours and then 3 hours, and before you know it, you're staying up all night on social media.
Basically.
So when you dopamine fast, it basically helps put your mind into better context as to what like makes you happy, and you don't need to waste your whole life pursuing dopamine.
Rather, what gives you pleasure.
Pleasure.
Yeah. I think, like, the
What did
one.
I say?
Happy.
Did I actually?
Let's not conflate them.
Okay, fine. Pleasure.
Well, yeah, the way I see it, it's just a way to kind of help you, like I said before, give yourself a hard reset, you know? Because I know after that day, like, I wrote a lot about what I was feeling, stuff like emotional things going through in my life, and like just taking the time to think about it all was really, really helpful. Because, like, sometimes people are just moving at 100 miles per hour
Mm-hmm.
or 1,000 miles per hour if you're like an investment banker or something, and they don't take like a second to just stop and evaluate. They're just constantly chugging all the time, like just down the road, always nonstop. It's pretty toxic. I mean,
How did they do that?
I mean, I. Funny enough, I'm kind of the same way, but I'm really big into self reflection. So to be fair, I know when I need to stop and like take a step back and evaluate.
But why does it matter? Like, let's say instead of social media and video games, you're a workaholic and you're doing work instead, and that makes you happy.
Well,
You working on your website, me working on my game, me working on the audio, you working on the video, us creating the podcast. What if that's fun and pleasurable for us?
it just I think it depends on
It's not like we're
your
wasting
idea of
time.
productivity. Yeah, it just depends on your idea of productivity. So if you're doing stuff that is not productive for your life in general, then that's when you would want to do it. So let's say if you're a professional gamer and you're gaming every single day, like just practicing your craft, then obviously you don't need a dopamine fast to get yourself away from gaming.
No, yeah, yeah. For the record, every time me and him refer to like people who play video games, we're excluding esports since those are their occupations.
Yes, that's fair.
We're usually just referring to guys who play video games, and that's it. No,
Yeah.
no money.
Yeah.
If you're a Let's Player, go outside. It's better for you.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, I use it for productivity. I'm actually going to do another one in a few weeks because
You're busy.
yeah, I'm quite busy at the moment. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We'll
All
have
right.
it in 3 weeks.
What episode? This is episode 3. 3 weeks. Okay, join
6.
us in for episode 6 to see if he actually does it or not.
I will.
We'll see.
I'm a man of my word.
Question marks.
Tell me when I've not been honest.
You said you would bring your headphones. I didn't see any headphones last week.
Honesty. I think forgetfulness does not necessarily infringe upon honesty.
So he says.
Am I wrong?
I don't know, Pete. Are you wrong? You viewers, you decide. Is Pete wrong?
Viewers, more like listeners.
If Pete, if someone makes a promise and they forget, is that them being dishonest or them being just a complete absolute fool? You decide.
Wait, let's talk about this. This is interesting.
Why?
Well, I mean,
if you're a forgetful person, I probably won't trust you with anything the second time. At least that's my philosophy. Like,
well, what if you've already been proven to be trustworthy?
Well, then I just take that as an honest mistake. If someone gets 9 out of 9 times in the honesty department, then I would just assume the 10th one was just, and they weren't honest the 10th one and they forgot something. I'd believe it.
Yeah. I never make promises I can't keep.
Okay.
That's just how I am, man.
That's what he says. Audience, don't worry. If he ever breaks a promise starting from now, I'll call him out.
All right, yeah. I mean,
I'll hold it
feel
to
free.
him.
Feel free.
I'll have to stalk him
But
though. Get some
I'm
surveillance
telling you,
cameras.
forgetfulness is definitely not malicious.
No, I didn't say malicious, but like
Well, a dishonest person most of the time is malicious
that was my
or insecure.
Yeah, but like that's why I said this wasn't like even a discussion. If you're a forgetful person, doesn't mean you're bad. It means you're a fool.
That's just such that's too general, man.
Is it though?
Yeah.
If you forget something often, it's like half your fault, isn't it? The other half being maybe it's genetic, maybe you have a problem, or maybe something traumatic. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I mean, I suppose so.
Okay, glad we got that settled.
Nah, you're a fool.
Oh,
Otherwise,
by the way, Pete does have his headphones. He's still alive. Thank God.
funny enough, yeah, I did bring them this
I
week.
did call him this time. Last time I trusted him was not well placed trust, but this time
I am most definitely a trustworthy
I
person.
put my trust in my closet and made sure to like remind him, hey, by the way,
You're trying to slander on my name here.
it's true.
Yeah, it's not cool, man.
Okay, Pete is a great friend.
That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say.
Everything I say still stands, but Pete is also a pretty cool guy.
Wow, I appreciate
No,
that.
I'm kidding. Pete. I trust Pete.
As he's like, he's just smiling.
I was gonna say
right
trust you
now.
with my life, but then I like took a second to think about that.
Whew. That's you see that hurts. That's like a dagger
I'm
straight through the
sorry.
heart.
It's
I feel that.
It's all for comedic effect.
I
Pete.
feel that.
Don't
you know,
worry.
deep in my stomach too.
Your stomach.
Yeah. You know, like you ever get those like when you feel I don't know,
Hungry?
when you feel I don't know if this is an actual thing or not, but I remember I was going through a rough patch emotionally, like maybe earlier this year, and I like I would get pains in my stomach, you know.
I
I
don't
just
know.
had like a lot going on in my life at the time, and so like I would sometimes just get stomach pains, like bad. I had no idea why. I don't know if it was stress or is that like even a stress response?
Um, I've had butterflies in my stomach when life has been bad, where I just get like nervous and stressed, and I get a weird feeling in my stomach. Not pain, but like that kind of feeling when you want to vomit, like that kind of sensation, similar to that. As for pain, it could be an ulcer.
Ulcer.
Yeah, or
I mean,
acid.
well, I actually
Increased acid due
I,
to something.
is acid reflux
Acid reflux is
hereditary?
when it comes
Yeah.
up. You're
Yeah.
saying the pain was in your stomach, not
Yeah.
your chest.
It's just I don't know. It's just when I had like a lot of stress in a certain moment, I would just get the pain in my stomach.
Calm down.
It's not that type of stress, man.
I was gonna say something. Oh, right.
Say it.
I was gonna talk about, unless you want to have a different subject, I wanted to talk about pleasure versus happiness.
Go for it. We have to.
Why do we have to?
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do, Pete.
Oh.
I live my own life.
So now first I'm untrustworthy, now very controlling.
It's true. This is
Yeah.
an abusive. This is a cry for help, everyone.
Okay.
Um,
Help yourself.
It's what we're here to do. What do you think about pleasure? Should we seek pleasure out?
Hmm.
So
It depends what pleasures you.
we talked about happiness last week and how we have our views on it about self-reflecting, finding our true selves, and pursuing things that we are fond of. That's our pursuit of happiness. Does pleasure fall into that route in any way? And if not, should anyone ever bother with pleasure?
You know, quite frankly, I never really thought about it as much as I thought of happiness. As I've thought of about happiness.
Yeah, I always
Because pleasure is way more double edged. You know, like you have pleasure from bad things, like we'll say things that are less legal.
Drugs.
Yeah. Um, and then pleasure from things that are obviously good, whatever. I mean, like making a website or like getting a piece of code to work.
Or eating.
Like that's one of the best. Oh my god, that's one of the best feelings.
Eating a sandwich.
Yeah, one of the best feelings on earth is when you have this block of code that you have no idea why it's working, and then it just starts working.
Mm.
If you're not a programmer and you're listening to this, just trust us.
Trust us? Right, okay.
When I say that, yeah.
Are you pursuing a computer science minor anymore?
No.
No.
But I'm, funny enough, still expanding my horizons with code.
Okay.
Ing.
So it's still something you're interested in, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't have the time to finish in 4 years if I continued that CS minor. But that's off topic. So
respectable, though.
yeah.
So
pleasure versus happiness. I mean,
what if I want to live
pleasure...
my life seeking nothing but pleasure, no happiness, just lust, indulging my own lust for everything that I'm lustful towards?
I suppose you should just evaluate how far that lust will take you, and I guess how toxic that lust is.
It's very toxic. It will last a few years, but I'll be in a state of ecstasy for those few years.
I mean, if you're not hurting someone else, then do you.
All right.
But you know, like the whole notion is you also want to. It's not about not hurting people as well. Like you also want to build people up. You want to bring them up. They're not people. There are people out there that love seeing people suffer and everything. Like the purpose, at least like the way I see it, is why don't you try to do the opposite? Why don't you try to build people up instead of bringing them down?
Because it's easier to break something than to build something.
Yeah, but it's more worth seeing the product of your build rather than the product of your break.
But what if you're too intoxicated by whatever you're doing to take notice in that feeling, in that sentiment? If you're like, let's say you're alcoholic, or if you're a drug addict, or if you play video games like 12 hours a day and you're not an esport gamer, you spend your money on prostitutes or like stuff like that, where you just indulge yourself and kind of you lose yourself in a way. You lose yourself in the pleasure that you no longer can grasp the beauty in creation or support. What do you tell that guy?
Well, I mean, I tell that guy, listen, man, you're kind of off the rails here. Just gonna be honest with you. I mean,
there's a sad part of reality where some people can't be helped.
I don't think it's some people can't be helped. I think they choose not to be helped.
Yeah, like you can put your hand out, but they need a grab onto your hand also.
Right, but it's not. Yeah, you don't want to force someone to grab onto your hand.
No, you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped.
Exactly. I agree. I agree with that. But it's very much so about how willing someone is also to go. Like what lengths you are willing to go to help someone as well.
But I can't help the world, Pete.
I mean, you don't have to help the world.
I can barely help myself.
Wow, you're a self-reliant one, aren't you? I mean, no one's asking you to help the world.
Just do the best that we can with what we have.
Exactly.
All right.
So, in conclusion, I think pleasure is kind of necessary. It kind of just gives you like an estimate of what is I don't want to keep saying the word pleasurable or pleasure, but that's kind of the only way to say it. I guess like stuff that you desire, you know, like, and if what you desire is kind of in alignment with good morals and good ethics and all that jazz, then feel free and go about your business. Like, go crazy. At least that's the way I see it. Um, Once again, very, very much my opinion. If you want to go and rob a bank or, you know,
Don't.
please
My
don't.
money's there. Don't touch it.
Yeah, please don't. But if you want to go do illegal stuff, if you want to go just hurt other people, be my guest. But then you'll have to answer to the law. And quite frankly, I wouldn't agree with you, and nor would the law.
I mean, law doesn't agree with a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like like the law is an interesting thing at the moment because I feel like it was always like all this talk of corruption and everything in the law, like it's always kind of been known. But yeah,
Um,
like all this stuff regarding law and its I guess corrupt nature you can say is quite profound, you know?
what do you mean by corrupt? Like abusing power?
Yeah, the abuse of power is I mean, power corrupts. That's the just the nature of it, you know?
Yeah.
Power, I think um power indefinitely corrupts.
No, power is neutral. It's the person
Really?
who wields it that decides if it's good or evil.
Well, what
If you
I'm saying is it doesn't matter
you're
necessarily
saying it'll always turn people evil.
because people are inherently greedy. Like where pleasure is, I mean, it's a chemical in our brain. Pleasure, happiness, it's all just chemicals released by electricity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you we can go into whole simulation theory, everything, and where I have a whole spiel on that, but we don't need to talk about that. But I mean, we're all just a product of something similar, and so, I mean, how can you prove to me that just these fundamental factors don't apply to all of us? You know,
That that anyone is above anyone else and that power will always corrupt us.
I think there was a quote. I don't remember. I don't remember from who, but I think the quote was absolute power corrupts. I may be wrong. Um, I don't know from
Absolute power.
is that
If
even
I had the power to literally do anything, would I abuse that power? Yeah, I think that's more accurate. That like if someone had the ability to literally do anything to anyone or anything, then yeah, that probably would get to someone's head for the average human being.
yeah. So John Dalberg, I don't know. John Dalberg Acton, whoever this guy is, um, accredited with the quote, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's pretty accurate.
Power tends to corrupt.
Power tends to corrupt,
So it's
yes.
not everyone. I could be pretty cool if you gave me all your money and power.
Uh,
You can't
I don't know
promise
if
it.
I would. I don't know
You
if I would
can't
trust
you
you.
can't promise it, but it could happen. I could be a wild card. I could be the coolest guy in the world. Pete, what are these faces you're making?
Nothing,
You
dude.
think you would do better with absolute power?
No, because I don't. I don't need absolute power to be happy,
What if
man.
someone gave you absolute power?
I mean, over what?
Everything.
Over
You're the
everything?
emperor of planet Earth.
I mean,
You could hire. You could. You don't even need to hire. You could tell people to make your website for you. You could just point at You could point at toddlers and say, "These people need to make a website, or I'll execute them."
oh, that's
You could. You
that's
have absolute.
evil.
It's absolute power.
I know
You
that's
could do
evil.
anything.
I
You could steal all of Elon Musk's technology and declare it as your own.
I definitely wouldn't do that.
You could.
No, I mean, I guess it just depends on moral compass more than it depends on. I like I'm pretty idealistic in the sense that if you've got a strong moral compass and if you've got a strong set of ethical codes within yourself, then you're just not gonna adhere to those vices.
Yeah, I
you know.
guess.
And like I like to think that I'm pretty disciplined about things that I do, whether it comes to working out or I guess just even like adhering to diets, like anything of that sort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I consider myself someone that really succumbs to vice as much. And so and I like to treat people the way they should be treated. I'm not saying I'm some kind of moral standard or anything. I'm just
You're a
I
saint.
was raised right. That's simple as that, you know? And so if I was in a position like the an emperor position, I honestly wouldn't know what to do. Like I don't feel the need to make other people bend their own will just for mine.
What would you do if you were like the emperor of a country and you had like 10,000 subjects? You had 10,000 people who you could who you could leave alone, leave the villagers alone, or you could like actually boss them around.
I honestly I've never thought of it, dude.
It's
Cuz
fun.
I don't yeah, like I just don't feel the need to have to rule over people
But
like
it's
that.
an there have been rulers,
I
like
mean,
people with power.
yeah, obviously, I
So
know that.
like that is a phenomenon that has occurred in human history
I'm going to think about that. I'm going to think about it. But you tell me yours. What would you do?
with absolute power.
Yeah, if you were basically the end all be all ruler of a land as far as the eye can see, and you know, like no one could say squat to you, what would you do?
Honestly, if I was Emperor of Earth, I would. I don't know what I would do, but no,
Ah,
no, no. I said
it's the
Emperor of
pot
Earth,
calling the
Emperor of
kettle
Earth,
or
and the reason why Emperor of Earth I'd be lost a bit is simply because like if you can do anything like on your whim, then all of it's kind of meaningless. It has no value because
that's true.
like all of it was at the snap of my fingers. I didn't have to do anything, and I'm not the type of person who kind of takes other people's work as my own. I usually take pride in my own work. However, if I was the emperor of my own country, the I honestly no, because Romania right now is not really is suffering a lot of corruption,
Well,
and well, like all the Eastern European countries.
I mean, that's basically every country
Yeah,
on
but
earth right now.
they're pretty bad.
No, that's fair.
Um, and I was thinking, is there like a way to like save them? Because like the politicians are the evil ones. It's not like the Romanian people are like bad people. In my eyes, they're like some of the smartest, most brilliant people in the world. But
Hmm.
if all their money and food is being stolen from them, and all their natural resources being sold to other countries for nothing,
Wow.
so it's just like, what would like how would you save it? And honestly, the the answer is unfortunately you really have to get rid of everyone that's currently ruling and kind of have like a one kind or like a dictatorship or a emperor, you know, someone who just has absolute control to just kind of tell people to get order back in to bring order back. The only problem with that is that's absolute power, and going
Well, don't we have a conundrum now?
no, the conundrum is that the world doesn't like the notion of a dictatorship,
Yeah.
which is half silly because if a
What?
dictator is responsible, are they is it a bad thing? Hypothetically, if a dictator did not abuse their power and actually used everything they could to make the country great without subjugating their people, is that a bad dictator? I know it doesn't happen often,
Well,
but or at
hmm.
all. But theoretically, if a dictator did not do anything, like they didn't kill people, they didn't spy on people, they didn't censor them, they just kind of had absolute control. What's the problem? And all the Western countries would say the problem is that he has absolute power. That it's not giving them the right to choose who their ruler is. That'll be the argument for all
Yeah.
the other countries. But in your heart of hearts, is that a bad like is the system bad if it worked?
Um,
It's an interesting thought because
well, I mean, it's idealistic because, you know, human nature would never allow for a person with absolute like I mean, the quote is the way it is because, you know, it's just in human nature. Cuz we're tribal, dude. We are a herd mentality species,
Right.
and we like to do things in groups, and it obviously like it's part of our nature to kind of seek an alpha or seek a leader within a group. But when that leader is doing stuff that
You don't like.
yeah you don't like, then you figure out a way to turn on him. That's just human nature.
Right.
And so this quote unquote dictatorship you speak of, like, is this dictator doing everything in his power to please everybody? Because it's just not possible. Like, what you're describing is utopian in one sense because everyone's gonna live happily ever after, but dystopian in a sense that no one can be pleased.
Right.
Not everyone can be pleased by the same thing.
How about temporary emperor? No, because the Roman Empire, which was pretty successful at some point in history, they had a rule.
Well, that's because they had a
They had
crap ton of land, dude.
but they had a rule, and the rule was they can instantiate a temporary emperor during times of emergency. Like, if they needed action done quickly, the people, the republic, or whatever the name of the Roman rulers was, they would put in someone, they would get someone and make them the emperor, the decision maker during a state of emergency. And once the emergency was settled or the emperor died, then they would go back to the way things were. And I feel that's such a novel idea because, like...
Why novel?
What does novel mean? New?
Yeah.
When in history has there ever been, like, a placeholder ruler? Like, a temporary guy to make decisions?
I mean, one example is in the U.S. when the president is incapable, we'll say, of being at the helm, for instance. Like, the next person up is the vice president. Then after that,
That's
it's
never
Speaker of the
before.
House.
That almost never happens.
I mean, no, it's happened before, like with
Nixon?
JFK.
Well, no,
and
that's
Nixon,
death. Yeah. That's not a state of emergency. The only time I can think of a state of emergency was during World War II, when was it FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president during those times?
I don't remember, actually. I think Harry Truman was the one that called for the atomic bomb. So I think, yeah, FDR was before him.
The one who did the majority of World War II.
I think a lot of the legislation.
There was the president. This was the only president in American history that had 4 terms instead of 2, because up until
it was 3 terms.
3, not 4.
Yes.
I know it was more than 2 because it was never in American history. It was never established that it was a rule that the president could only go twice. And then someone got elected more than twice. It's like, okay, by the way, we need to make only twice now.
Yeah, which is it was FDR, and it was 3 terms.
But like, he was elected, like, and no one like argued with him. Republicans, Democrats got along for the first time in probably ever, simply because it was kind of a state of emergency. Now it's not the time to argue.
I mean, look, that's kind of logical though. Why they were getting along, dude. I mean, like if if you have a common enemy, then you're gonna team up. It doesn't matter.
No, but like just the notion of like during a state of emergency, you put all your petty squabble, you put all your corruption aside, and just work together and start listening to each other. You know, it's stupid. It's really stupid that it has to come at the cost of a state of emergency for people to like go together to like listen to each other and treat each other respectfully. But like it's an interesting concept.
Well, my friend, it's called survival instinct.
Maybe.
No, it's not maybe. It's 100% because of that. I mean, think about it. When you are in desperate need, or when your life is in jeopardy, you're gonna do everything you can to try to keep yourself alive, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, let's think of the U.S. government and all its constituents as an organism, for lack of better analogies. I mean, it's gonna figure out a way to kind of keep itself alive, right? And if the only way is to perpetuate a war, which it has done in the past, I won't say which ones, but it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, but World War II, we didn't start World War II.
Yeah, no, I know.
We finished it.
Yeah, I guess that's
honestly,
a lot of Americans will say back-to-back World War champs. I find that pretty funny, but it's pretty bad.
Honestly, if Japan left us alone, America probably would have died. or because
Well, yeah, coming out of the depression, dude. I mean,
we were
the
still
only
in the
reason-
depression.
Yeah.
Like, it was only because Japan was like, we got him now, that like
And then
we were
had
like,
to
oh,
go and
hey guys, we have a war economy now. We didn't have any other economies, but now we got a new one.
basically, I mean,
And now
very similar to what we're going through today in a way. But we'll get to that part after. I want to say, yeah, I mean, in general, the idea of survival is just doing anything in your power to try to, I guess, hinder those transgressions against you. And so, like if if you're gonna bite the bullet and team up with a prior enemy, or an enemy you had prior to the event, then you're gonna do it because it just means that you'll get to live one more day. And that's exactly what the Democrats and Republicans did. And so, we will do everything to preserve ourselves at the end of the day. It's almost as like Darwin would. I think Darwin would smile at this and say this is quite the adaptation that human beings have created. Like socially, they've come so far as to literally be friends with the people they hate temporarily just so that they can survive from people that they hate even more.
When was the expression coined, keep your friend close and keep your enemy closer?
Well, this is the opposite, what I'm talking about, of that.
Not really.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, right. When enemies team up rather than backstabbing.
Yeah, because they have a common threat.
Oh.
We
need an alien invasion. That would unify.
That
would unify
my
the world.
God, dude, I literally couldn't agree more. I mean, for God's sake, if there's gonna be something, like there has to be a general threat, and I mean, quite frankly, coronavirus has done that somewhat.
No, it's the opposite. Coronavirus made us all crazy and insane.
Well, okay. The bottom line is we do need a. I mean,
we need an enemy. We don't need a threat.
We need a common enemy. Yeah, I mean, what could be a common enemy to the human race? It would be just another race, which would have the power to, I guess, get rid of our existence. I mean, I don't think we can talk about AI right now. It's not enough.
Wouldn't that be cool? Wait, no, it wouldn't be cool if we created an artificial intelligence race for the sole purpose of us to kill them. To to unify the world.
Why would that be cool?
It would be fascinating. It would be fascinating
okay.
if, like, imagine a conspiracy where, like, the government, to unify the Illuminati, they create because, like, if because the world isn't divided, that's fair. I think it's fair to say. So what's a way to unify it? It's like a common threat. So what if some organization, not a government, because governments are too competitive, what if some organization created an artificial intelligence race, and like they mass produced it, and then they start wreaking havoc around the world, and we had to join together to stop the the robot invasion. That's a pretty good idea for a book. I'm pretty sure someone probably wrote something like that. I mean, no, I'm pretty sure that.
Well,
no, usually in books, it's usually they create an artificial race and then they rebel. But my idea is literally creating a race for the sole purpose of causing war to then unite the human race.
You see,
is it immoral? Yes.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
Because, well, I mean, if you're gonna create an artificial intelligence, all like preconceived notions of AI right now have to do with computing, and there is absolutely zero way we as human beings can think faster than a computer. It's just literally not possible.
But the creators can like program them to be like defective or dysfunctional like humans, so we have a chance. Because their goal wouldn't be to like eradicate humanity. It would just be to unify it.
No, I understand. I'm saying there are physical limitations.
To what? AI?
Well, rather, there are physical limitations to us. The way that our brains process information. And so, I mean, for God's sake, like your computer that I'm staring at right now could make far more calculations within a second than I can.
Okay.
And so that's just, like, how do you hinder your computer from doing that? No, you can't, because the electrons in the
Program
computer
it.
are
No, no,
moving
no.
way too
No,
fast. The
you have to
transistors are turning off and
program
on.
it. You have to program like mercy functions into it. You can't. You're basically saying if I program a death machine, it's just going to be superior to the human race. Like there's no way any human would beat it. I'm saying you program the machine to like miss. Like let's say there's 10 people, the program the robot to only shoot 5 of them lethally, 3 of them in the leg, and 2 of them miss completely. That way that way humanity survives and unifies together. Or something along those lines. Basically, don't kill everyone, pretend to miss, like pretend like and maybe even create like a self-destruct function where it's like if it sustains enough damage, like enough bullet damage or nuclear damage or from whatever attack, it just blows up or destroys itself. Because the computer is only as smart as, well, potentially machine learning can make it smarter, but if we program a robot to be strict in its rule set, to like do exactly what we say and not learn anything else, then it's just a machine. It has no feelings. It will only do what it's programmed to do.
Yeah, but that's really hard.
What do you mean it's hard?
Well, I'm telling because machine learning is based on a lot on probabilities.
No. The point is to not rely on machine learning, to not make it smart, to make it just do what I tell it to do.
I know, but the whole idea is it won't
learn.
It will just do the stuff that has like a higher probability of success, and whatever it sees in its I don't know if you want to say brain, but whatever that thing processes as success, it can be totally different than what the programmer intended it to be.
You treat this robot's mind as though it's thinking. It's not thinking. It's following rules that I specifically tell it to do.
Yeah, I know, but
so how? It's not like if it sees 10 people, its programming will basically say there's a 30% chance you'll miss. Like let's say the computer is aiming right at you. The computer, let's say there's a 50%, I program it into the system that there's a 50% chance it will like move away and shoot. In other words, missing you completely. You know? Basically forcing it to be stupid. But only for a percentage, a specific percentage. Because if we didn't do that, they would just kill us all. Unless we like nuke
have you ever watched Terminator?
Unless we had a time machine, but you know that.
What? You've never watched the Terminator?
No. The Terminator
movies.
The Terminator, they basically almost eradicate humanity.
Yeah.
But they send someone back in time.
Yeah.
And then the Terminator got sent back in time.
Yeah.
So, if we wanted to prevent this hypothetical future from happening, we would need to invent a time machine.
I mean, I don't see why it can't happen.
It's true.
I don't know, man.
I have a sci-fi theory about time travel.
Oh boy.
I'm pretty sure I've told you.
I don't think you have.
The idea of how moving forward in time is linear.
Oh yeah.
But moving backwards in time is actually, it's not a straight line, rather it's a diagonal line. You're jumping into a parallel universe. Huh. Because the question is always the grandfather paradox, where if you went back in time and killed your grandfather, what would happen?
Yeah.
If my idea, if you assume time is linear both forward and backward, if you kill your grandfather, it's a very unusual paradox. No one knows what happens. Because you never born, you never went back, which means you were born, which means, it's a paradox. But with my theory of jumping backwards and going to a parallel universe that's identical to our own universe and our own universe's timeline, the only difference being that I'm now in that space and time at that current time whenever I went back. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
So theoretically, if I died, like everything would go as normal, but I'm there, so a butterfly effect will eventually happen.
Yeah, totally true.
So theoretically my idea should work, because that would mean I'm still alive. Even if I kill my grandfather, I'm still alive because I'm in a different world, I'm in a different universe.
Well, your idea also is like the Hollywood version. That's like every Hollywood movie ever has used that idea of time travel.
When they never elaborated on
I mean, no, it's kind of covert. It's inherent within the plot line.
It's just bad
or
writing.
storyline.
It's just bad writing.
It's not bad writing. I mean, no. If someone's smart enough to understand like what you're talking about right now,
Which is
then
all
they
of our
can see
viewers
it.
because they're all very smart.
I hope that the
Pete,
people that are
they're
listening can
amazing,
understand what you're
super
saying.
duper awesome people. Thank you for listening.
No,
Like,
the way
comment,
I see
subscribe.
it, the way I see it, I don't see it as I don't know because I mean, time to me could be another dimension just as height, length, width.
I don't like that notion of 4 dimensions. I hate it.
Why?
Because when you
By
think,
the way, I'll have you guys know that Alex is. I mean, we mentioned this last week, I think, but Alex is technically trained in mathematics. So proceed.
not theoretical physics, but I can.
This
take
is
a
not
step.
necessarily theoretical physics. This is
We're talking
math right
about
here.
spatial dimensions and time.
Yes.
It's pretty physical.
Just continue.
Okay, so when you think of dimensions, I usually think of space. I think of
Yeah.
one dimension is like a dot or
I mean,
a
you
line.
ever heard of analytical geometry? That's definitely math.
Yeah, so theoretically you can do mathematics in 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions. You can do that. The math is already there. The problem is with the notion of time as being the fourth dimension is time is not a spatial dimension. It's its own thing, which is why the expression is space and time, because time is separate.
Well, space time. But
Or
continue.
space time, yeah. But they're not the same. Space is what exists, and time is the concept of its existence.
Uh-huh.
So the two are fundamentally different from one another. So I don't like tying them together in the sense that it's a dimension.
Well, did you ever think about time? Obviously, time is the medium through which we can observe all these things. But did you ever think that it's merely because we can observe it within the bounds of time that like the best
we
way
can't observe time, Pete.
No,
we
no,
can
no.
only
I'm
observe
saying
space.
you can observe space within the bounds of time. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, within
And so,
time.
what happens when time becomes unbounded?
What does that mean?
What, like immortality? Like what happens when you're immortal? Or what happens when you have access to time travel?
What happens?
You are no longer bounded by time, and so it just becomes another dimension that you can move freely within whenever you want.
Dang it, Pete.
Ah!
You're making me question my own beliefs now.
I mean, think about it, though.
Thinking about it. If I did theoretically have a time machine and I could go backwards. That's the thing, right?
You could go wherever you want.
No, but forward I feel should be pretty simple. Forward just means time continues to pass normally, with me just being absent from whatever the time is and reappearing in whatever future timeline I pick. But going to the past, to solve the paradox, my parallel theory would imply you are jumping to a separate time, because it's not the same time anymore. You've transferred into a different time.
I mean, I'm not all against that. I actually I do believe in parallel universes, to be fair. We got super theoretical here.
Do you want to
Let's just take real before we continue, can we just take a step back and look at us right now having this conversation?
We were talking about dopamine.
Dopamine fasting. We went from there to AI to
It was only a matter of time, Pete, before we talk about this.
Well, to be fair, this is only the tip of the iceberg for what we can expand on this. But anyways, let's continue.
What were we talking about? Oh, right, traveling through time. What time as a dimension still seems time is its
This is gonna
They need to create a new
while.
word for dimensions exclusively for time, because I still don't like the word dimension used for time.
Well, I guess you can go and raise this point to every theoretical mathematician that is alive right now. Maybe they
time
can
should
do
not be a dimension.
Or rather, give them a reason why and why not time should be considered a dimension.
Well, what's the physics-based definition of a dimension?
Anything, or I guess my interpretation would be anything through which either a body can propagate through. Space itself is something where matter, or anything with mass, or maybe some things that don't have mass. I guess light, for instance. That's a whole. Let's not go there.
Okay,
But
so a dimension is something that something can exist in.
yes,
Is an entity where
put simply,
matter exists. Where is light
because
considered matter?
the mathematical definition of a dimension is just like, I mean, the way I think is r to the whatever.
Is light considered matter?
Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I don't remember if we talked about this
Definitely
either
not
on
on the
here.
podcast.
The one thing I never really understood about this, and I took I took some courses in physics, so it kind of, because it interested me a lot. But I mean, light technically has energy, and so it should have mass, because anything with energy can be converted to mass. Thank you, Einstein, for that. Theoretically. But light does not have mass, because otherwise it would not move at 300 million meters per second.
Why not?
Well, because anything with mass would move slower.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's nothing in space, so there's no friction.
Why don't you just go as fast as light and ask it yourself?
No. Obviously, I would burn up, but light is energy itself, so it can't burn up. It is burning itself, in a way. Light is not fire per se, but it's energy.
Yeah.
So it can't suffer friction.
What are you talking about?
Like light. The reason why us human beings and spaceships can't go at the speed of light, us assuming we even had the ability to go that fast,
I see what you mean.
is because we would burn up. We would
yeah,
just die from friction alone.
Well,
I'm saying light doesn't suffer from that that principality.
Well,
or does it? Does light?
You understand that friction only exists
between matter?
Well, friction. Yeah, it's something that's created when one thing
rubs against the other.
Yes, and so friction doesn't exist in space.
It could. If two rocks collide into each other, they're frictionifying.
All right, we're Englishing now.
They're partaking in.
No. I'm saying
the phenomenon
in a vacuum.
known as friction. Okay.
In a vacuum, friction
yeah.
does not exist.
But that would mean that we theoretically can travel at the speed of light. That would theoretically mean we could travel at the speed of light.
No, because we have mass.
So?
I'm telling you.
No. We have mass, but if there's nothing, if assuming all the space gas and all the molecules in space made way for like a clear 300 light year trip in a straight forward, nothing would collide into us. We wouldn't suffer friction. There's nothing there, theoretically. If all of I forgot the term for the space gas, the clouds of elements in space, I don't know, space gas, that's what I'm calling it. So if you removed all the space gas and all the rocks and meteors and comets away, and you went at the speed of light, there's nothing to hit you anymore. There's no friction.
Yeah, but that's simple to explain because there's no obstruction.
But no. Would we burn up? Theoretically, would we burn if that happened?
No, because of no friction. That burning up is just caused by friction. That like when you see a meteor hitting the Earth's atmosphere, it's because of the air friction.
Burning from the air.
Yes. Because it's going so fast.
I know how meteors work, Pete.
Okay. So yeah.
So it wasn't on fire.
If you were moving in a vacuum, if you were moving in a vacuum and there's nothing to obstruct your path, then obviously, you wouldn't burn up. But if you have mass, you won't be able to go at that speed anyway.
Why?
I forget the
what
reason.
What would happen?
But it's just not possible.
If I skipped a rock through space, there would be no problem. It wouldn't burn up.
What?
Don't analyze that statement too hard, Pete.
Well, no, you wouldn't. Okay, we're not.
Yeah, Pete, I said don't analyze it. You're like, skipping rocks through space? What?
No, it would just go on forever. It wouldn't burn up.
That is the joke, Pete.
It
Okay?
couldn't. It couldn't go. It couldn't go the speed of light. There's no way possible you could provide enough energy to that thing.
But if we did have the energy, would we still be able to survive?
Hmm.
If we theoretically had the energy to make a rocket that went the speed of light, would the rocket sustain itself or would it destroy itself?
I mean, I don't think I'm qualified to answer that, quite frankly.
If we could go at the speed of light, how long would it take to get to the moon? How far away is the moon?
I don't know. I know that
Speed of
from the
light
sun to
is
the earth, it's about 9 seconds or 8 seconds.
light.
Yeah,
9 seconds, really?
yeah.
So if we got a car that went at the speed of light, we could just drive literally to the sun and back in like 20 seconds.
Basically.
Sweet.
I mean,
when
yeah.
speed of light cars exist, we can just take a quick joyride to the sun.
Yeah, I guess.
Bring our sunglasses, some sunscreen,
Well,
and some water. 'cause
I mean,
it's
yeah.
hot.
I mean, you could turn the sun off right now, like this.
I could.
Yeah.
Where?
I mean,
There's
it could be turned off, but it's still light out.
There's a switch for that.
But now it would get dark.
What?
That was about 9 seconds.
Okay,
I hope so. I don't know. I'm not looking at a clock.
but like, what are you talking about?
Like, I snapped the sun off, right? But the light is still traveling. The light that had traveled from the sun.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
no,
minute
I
snapped.
know that when the sun inevitably dies, it'll take like it won't, like, we'll still see the sun,
Yes.
even though it died for like, I don't know, maybe 9 seconds, maybe longer, I
Yeah.
forget.
Exactly.
Which that'll be sad. But
Well, I don't think we'll be on Earth to see that happen, my friend.
why not?
Well, for starters, when the sun is gonna undergo its death cycle, it's gonna
explodes.
yeah. Well, our sun won't explode. Our sun's too small.
What happens? It just turns. What is the sun? It's just elements.
It's just a giant
gas?
ball of fusion energy, I believe.
Does it have?
Don't
mass?
quote me on that,
Does
people.
it have mass?
Of course, dude.
Is it a rock?
Dude, the sun could fit the Earth like.
No, I know how big it is, but like,
Yes.
is it a rock?
No, it has
Or just
mass million times that of the Earth. I'm pretty sure.
Is Jupiter? Does Jupiter have a rock center? Jupiter is a
No,
gaseous planet, but does it
yes.
have like a center of mass? Like, does it have a rock in the middle?
Well, no, I don't. No.
So-
Jupiter's all gas.
No. So Jupiter doesn't have a surface at all.
No,
So you would just fall into the middle and be stuck there.
essentially.
That kind of suck.
That it's kind of crazy when you think about
If
it.
you were strong enough, you could actually like swim.
Well, to
then.
be fair, like, all right, let's assume that the pressure,
if it didn't kill you, the pressure.
yeah, like the pressure, the high wind, like, I mean, there's Jupiter's red dot or red,
Yeah, it has
whatever.
a thing.
Yeah, that's a hurricane. Except that hurricane is like hundreds of times worse than the worst Hurricane Katrina scene you could ever imagine.
Yeah, but no one has
And
a
that's
no one has a house there, so
constant-
it's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
What would happen to a human being if they were just floating in a hurricane? There's no
what do you mean?
There's no trees or houses to hit you or cars. You're just there. Would you die?
What do you? Are we talking Jupiter hurricane, or are we talking like
Okay, yeah, because
human, like Earth hurricane?
well, Earth hurricanes you can just stand outside and just get wet. You won't die from that. You might
Yeah.
die if like debris hits you.
Okay, the worst possible hurricane that we could experience on Earth was that Category 5, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, like those are winds above 100 for sure. I think maybe I don't know what
Can
Category
you stand
5.
outside when there's 100-mile-an-hour wind, or would you be blown away?
I don't know because I haven't had any personal experience. I would assume it would probably blow you away. I
But
mean,
like, would you blow you up or just forward? Like, would you go flying like the Wicked Witch, or would you
it just depends at which
angle?
angle. We'll say vector. Wow, that was nerdy. I didn't like that.
Vector?
Yeah, like
That's-
which vector direction the wind is carrying you in.
Okay.
So you could say angle technically.
What?
Category 5 is whoa, that's really fast. 156 miles per hour.
Has that ever existed in human history?
I would assume so. Worse.
What was Hurricane Sandy?
I don't know. I want to say 3.
Because I was outside when that happened.
Wait, oh my gosh. Do you remember this YouTube video of this guy that was listening to a song by Slayer? I think it was called Raining Blood. Do you know that song?
No.
It's on Guitar Hero or something. And this dude was just standing in the middle of the road. It's a crazy famous YouTube video. Standing in the middle of the road with this just, I think, like 8-foot American flag in the middle of the hurricane, and just with the, like, he's got rock star hair and everything. He's just like bobbing his head and like saying like, yeah, I'm gonna defeat this hurricane. It's
I'm
funny.
gonna
It's
defeat
so
the
funny.
hurricane.
Yeah, I'm
I saw
gonna
another
outlast it.
video. I saw another video of a guy just sitting in the hurricane drinking some beer or something. He has his lawn chair out in his front lawn
Lounging.
in like at night with like the lights, street lights on, and it's just pouring rain, and he's just sitting there. He's just like just taking a sip out of the drink he has, and it's just like, yeah, it's
Just lounging.
just sitting there, and it's just like it's cool, just chilling.
I mean, if everybody could have that type of apathy, or I guess that kind of,
Deal with it attitude.
no, I don't want to say deal with it, like just kind of
Apathy, indifference. It's like, yeah, it's raining, but I still want to sit outside and drink some drink some beer.
like you just look at every worst possible situation. You say, you know what, I'm still gonna chill.
It's fun.
I'll just live my life. I don't care.
I was running during hurricanes. Hurricane was category 2, which is 105 mile an hour winds. So I survived 100 mile an hours. I probably wasn't in this,
Miles per hour.
yeah, miles per hour. I probably wasn't in the apex of the, or that's
No.
not the right term. Not the center. The center is
The center is the calm
is
part.
the
Yeah.
calmest part of the hurricane. I was
I
probably
mean, other than when it's gone.
that's pretty calm too. I was probably like on the outskirts of the hurricane, but I was there. I saw it. It was okay. 7 out of 10 rating.
I can't believe you went out and ran during Hurricane Sandy.
It's fine. It's just rain and wind and thunder.
Dude, what?
And I was running near the beach, and I saw.
Oh my god!
I saw. I didn't run on the beach. I don't think. I think I was running parallel to it, and I saw lightning strike the ocean, and the whole sea like lit up like very mildly. Not like it didn't like turn white with light, but like it did look like the entire ocean got electrocuted for like a second, and I was just like, "That's cool."
That's sick.
Yeah.
Very dangerous, though.
I wouldn't go swimming.
You definitely wouldn't want to go swimming into that right after. Wow, that I wish I could.
Don't do that, kids.
No, you definitely. I mean, why would you be running
It's fun.
in that?
So
What do you mean it's
so
fun?
I can tell people I'm not a coward.
What do you-
I fight.
There
the
are
hurricane.
so many things you could do, other than that.
I dance too. If you're asking.
Don't involve jeopardizing your life to
It's
prove
fine.
that you're not a coward.
I mean, I'm not.
Oh my god!
You can't deny the result.
You're a lunatic.
Yeah, I survive.
But at least you're not a coward.
It's true.
Oh man.
Why are we talking? Oh right, Jupiter. Yeah. If you just floated around in a hurricane in the air, assuming you didn't have to like fall onto the ground when the hurricane stopped, would anything happen to you, or would you just be flying in air? Because like I assume the only reason you die from a hurricane is the landing part, where when you're falling, when you're up 1,000 feet.
So
in the
here's
air.
a good thought experiment, because quite frankly I don't know exactly. I feel like there's definitely answers out there. I just have to look for them, but like on the internet. But good thought experiment is, let's say we drilled a hole that essentially
went through the earth.
Through the earth, yeah. If you were to fall through that hole, you would fall, I guess,
You would.
at the 9.8 meters per second squared. You would be accelerating at that rate towards the center of the earth. But you wouldn't stop at the center of the earth.
You would go back. And
You would,
forth.
yeah, you would be like a pendulum until, I mean,
Does
I
a-
would hope until you find some kind of
Does
equilibrium.
a pendulum
after
ever
time.
stop? That thing, that Newtonian thing with the balls that goes back and forth.
Yeah,
It eventually will stop.
yeah.
So if I fell through the center of the earth, eventually I will.
Well,
be in the
reason,
middle.
well, not necessarily, because the reason that thing stops is because the energy, like the potential energy,
When you
converts to kinetic energy, but then it's also transferred through the balls, like those little.
yeah yeah.
Yeah, it's transferred through, and so some is lost.
Aren't I losing stuff with air friction when I'm falling back and forth?
I suppose. So yeah, technically after a very long time, but it would be only air friction, and
You
that's assuming there is air friction through this tube through the Earth that we're
you'd
talking
get
here.
me food, right? If I jumped in.
When you stopped,
When I stop.
and then I would drop the food
But then
on
I'd
my
have
end.
to catch it. If I miss it, I have to like wait however
Also,
long.
keep in mind this food's going really, really fast.
It's true.
Terminal velocity, I don't know, of a hamburger, let's say, going terminal
Would
like
water kill you?
probably like
if
a
it,
couple hundred miles per hour.
So if you dropped a penny from the Empire State Building, it would kill someone if it landed on them.
Yeah.
If
Well, it's because it's like a bullet,
if
dude.
you dropped like water, would that happen too? Or is that no? That'd be like rain, no?
No. Well, I guess it depends. It depends on the density of the object, and it depends on its terminal velocity.
What's water's terminal velocity?
I don't know.
Would
But water, everything, the density of
would a
everything.
sandwich kill me if it hit me at terminal velocity?
This is a thought experiment. I
If I'm
don't know.
hungry and
I
I'm
would
at the
assume
center
so.
of the earth,
You see, what I'm wondering is because
if I had a net, would I even be able to catch it, or would it just burn through the net?
what I'm thinking is a hamburger bun more dense than water?
Is a hamburger bun? No, because it floats in water.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right. So,
So bread is
so
less than
I
water.
mean, like I said, what is the real thing that matters here is how dense the object is and how fast it's going.
Well, it would be terminal velocity. Unless, wait, no, just put it on a parachute, Pete. It'll just float down. Problem solved.
You are so difficult.
What do you mean? That's
Okay.
that's the solution.
But using using that idea, that's how you would essentially be traveling through Jupiter's atmosphere. Except like I said, you would have all these hurricane force winds. You would have all the air friction within that gaseous
but my
planet.
question is, would the hurricane like affect me in any way, or would I just be like
Yeah.
blown around?
Yeah, you would be blown around.
But like it
exactly.
won't like hurt me.
I mean, how do you feel about 400-mile-an-hour winds?
I have my helmet on.
To be fair, I don't think you're really gonna hit anything hard.
No,
if
exactly
it's
my
a gaseous
point.
planet.
You're just gonna be like flying essentially.
But I'm pretty sure there's Jupiter's version of lightning and thunder.
Oh
and...
shoot!
Oh.
I'm gonna get electrocuted. That's unfortunate. I didn't wait. What? But there's no what? Wait, what causes lightning? Not water, right? No, because lightning happens without rain sometimes.
Yes.
So what is it?
It's
The electrons.
it is yeah, it is basically trying to reduce potential I think it's potential. The earth the earth and the sky have a difference in charge in general, and so the electrons move to ground in order to reduce that difference.
Okay.
That's the simplest way to explain it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'd be a pretty
People
failed
have
electrical
survived- wait,
engineer if I didn't explain
All I
this
need is a
correctly.
rubber suit. Problem solved. Because rubber doesn't conduct
You would need
electricity.
a pretty very good insulating material around you.
Why? If I was in a rubber ball and I got struck by lightning, would the electricity kill me? Would it even reach me if I was in a rubber ball?
I don't know. I am also a silly human being. Technically, I'm right partially. I'm only half right about lightning.
About how
It's also because the charge, like there are different charges between Earth and the sky. We'll say the sky for lack of better.
the atmosphere or
Yeah.
the top part of it.
It's because that charge it's think of it as maintaining equilibrium. Like you have positive charge on the ground, negative charge up there. The negative charge goes to the positive, or vice versa.
Okay.
So
and it gets rid of it if there's too much.
it's just to maintain equilibrium. That's what it is.
Okay.
So rubber ball suit. I don't know if that would protect you, man.
Rubber doesn't conduct electricity.
I know, but I really don't think that will save you.
What if it's a thick rubber suit?
How thick are we talking here?
Um, what if I'm in like a 5-inch thick ball, rubber ball?
You see, as an electrical engineer, I should be able to answer it. So I mean,
Ignoring the fact that I'd suffocate, would I
I'm
survive?
thinking right now. You know how when lightning strikes pavement, it will crack the pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think would happen to your rubber suit if the lightning would strike it.
So it would just break.
Does concrete conduct electricity?
Probably.
I mean,
There are probably some rocks that
very,
conduct it.
very. I wouldn't tell you what. I wouldn't use concrete to try to conduct electricity if I was in a lab. So it's not, in my professional opinion, it's not very good conductor. And so, like if that lightning strikes your suit, dude, you're kind of screwed.
All right. I've played dodgeball before. This is just a slightly harder version of that. It's true.
Okay, the point is, so what really needs to happen
Wait a
here is
minute.
to avoid lightning striking your suit, you need to ensure that there is no charge on that suit indefinitely.
Or I
Yes.
have a metal rod that'll conduct the electricity,
You
but
definitely
completely
don't want.
avoid me.
You definitely do not want the lightning
no.
rod near you.
No, because the lightning rod, I'll basically make it in such a way that the rod will conduct it and then go around me and shoot out the other side, so completely avoiding me.
That's not how it works.
Why not?
Because it's not just gonna move constantly. It's gonna go to a place, like I said, to maintain equilibrium.
It's gonna wait. No, it's gonna shoot. It's gonna enter one part and shoot out the other. No, that's how it would work. If I theoretically, if a metal rod was able to float in the air, no, the guy, Benjamin Franklin, he proved this. Like he had a kite with a key on it, and he flew it in a thunderstorm, and the lightning didn't reach him. It shot out of the key. So I would do that. I'd just fly a kite in Jupiter. Problem solved.
You are. Oh my god.
Am I wrong, Pete?
You
I
are
would just have a flight with a key.
incredibly passionate about sci-fi. I can say that, to say the least. That's
Where does lightning go if there's no matter on the bottom? So on Earth it'll hit the ground. What does it hit in Jupiter?
It just propagates through. It's It's an electric. It's electromagnetic wave.
What does that mean? It's just.
It's traveling charge,
But like, it'll never stop. It'll just bounce back and forth.
or rather, it's not an electromagnetic wave. It's just charged particles moving through air.
Does it shoot like? So let's say I'm at the top of Jupiter and I'm a lightning bolt, and I shot down. When I go through? When I reach the center, do I stay in the center or does my shot keep going down?
Wait, say that again?
So let's say I'm at the top of Jupiter. Imagine Jupiter as a ball, and I'm shooting a lightning bolt straight down to the center. Once it passes the center, does it like dissolve or stop, or does it keep shooting?
Well,
up?
I would assume that, because remember, these electrons need to find places where they can, I guess, have their charge be offset by protons.
Oh, so it's
positive
just gonna
charge.
bounce back and forth until it finds
Yeah,
a proton.
that's how it works. That's why when you see lightning traveling through the air, it kind of branches off like that. Like it just looks like really
like paint strokes.
not fractal. Yeah, it just branches off like a tree branch. It's because they just try the way that they're traveling through the air. They're just trying to find
protons.
Yeah, it's like a little buddy.
So theoretically, if we gave it some protons before it hit the ground, never reach the ground.
Alex, if you want to go into a sea of charged particles like that, my friend, I think you have some bigger issues to worry about.
People have survived lightning strikes before.
How have people survived lightning strikes on Jupiter?
I don't know. We want to ask them?
I mean, you can be the first. Dedicate yourself.
They're stuck in the center of the Earth, of the Jupiter Earth.
The Jupiter Earth.
Shut up, Pete. They're stuck in the center of Jupiter because the gravity's too big.
I explained gravity to you last time, man.
What?
Or some other time.
Not on the podcast.
Yeah, I did.
You talked about gravity?
Yeah.
Probably this podcast.
Gravity is not big. Gravity's just a thing.
You never
Remember?
said that ever to
I
me
promise
in my
you.
life.
I promise you.
What? How would you describe gravity?
Gravity is. I've talked to you
No.
about
Like
this.
when you're talking about the size or the amount of gravity.
Space-time is a fabric. Gravity is something that curves it.
No. But like when you're talking about the value, the magnitude. Okay, magnitude. There we go. The magnitude of the gravity of Jupiter is pretty large.
There is no magnitude of gravity. It's a force.
Relative to Earth's gravity force, it's larger there. Problem solved.
Yes. I don't know how much larger it would be.
I think it's 4 point something.
4?
Yeah, or either 2.19 or 4.
Why so specific? 2.19?
Because my memory is either fabricating a memory, or that is my memory telling me that Jupiter has a much larger, well, not much larger gravity pull than Earth's. I forget. I can Google it right now.
Wait, so you're looking up Jupiter?
Jupiter's gravity compared to Earth. So if someone weighs 100 pounds on Earth, they would weigh 240 pounds on Jupiter.
All right,
so 2.4.
Yeah. That's not bad. I mean,
it
definitely wouldn't help those trying to go through Weight Watchers, but I mean...
Pete, essentially, imagine you carrying yourself forever.
Yeah.
You and
Except, yeah.
That would suck.
That would suck. But you see also, with that, like I said, like, all things aside, you know, like that immense gravitational force on Jupiter would likely kill you. Like all the pressure would probably kill you. Like it says that the force of gravity would make you feel like 2.4 times your weight here.
Yeah.
But
so
I guarantee you the pressure on Jupiter is far higher.
No, obviously, like if you reach the center,
Imagine traveling to the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
I don't know what that is, but
it's like one of the deepest points on Earth.
I am familiar with sea pressure and how if you go deep enough. But actually, that's...
But it's a little different
because there's water.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is also silly, because it's not like... It's such a weird concept that water is crushing me, because water is such a... Because it's not like water itself is it's not a solid object, basically. So the idea of water crushing you is funny. Because it's dispersed. It's not like a rock falls on you. The rock isn't dispersed.
You want me to blow your mind right now?
Sure.
Technically, nothing is a solid object.
Shut up, Pete. Just shut your mouth, Pete. Shut your face with your Rick and Morty metaphysical nonsense. That's not what the viewers came here for, Pete.
Oh, man. I'm just saying, man. It's the truth.
Then why can't I reach into my heart and... pull it out?
Well, because you can't phase through objects.
Why? If everything is nothing.
No, I've said technically. You see, I've got kind of some gripes with chemistry and physics on that front. You know, because technically nothing like
atoms.
This could get super existential, but like nothing we're touching or feeling is technically a solid object. It's just a conglomerate of hopefully, if this theory of physics is correct, like
it's probably not
small particles that are really close together. If you pull them apart just a little bit, then they become liquid. If you pull them apart a little more, then they become gas. I mean, what is that about? I mean,
what do you mean? It is.
I mean exactly what I just said.
It is what it is, Pete.
It is what it is, but technically, I am questioning
Shut
it.
up.
Okay.
Pete, the god of physics is gonna come at your door and Hurricane Sandy your house times 3. It's gonna be category 6. It's gonna be so bad.
Okay, perfect.
So bad it's not even recorded.
Well, in that case, I'll just make sure I have every single flag on Earth to combat it, and
and some beer and some music.
Yes, on my lawn chair.
What would your last song be if you knew you were gonna die?
Staying alive. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything and everyone and in between. I definitely messed it up, but dopamine fasting, if you want to become more productive, you definitely should try it. I highly recommend. I tried it once. I will be doing it again for sure. Um, any
I,
other morals from today?
if you want to save Romania, make me the emperor of Romania, and
Oh, okay.
I probably would do a better job than the current politicians.
Yeah.
Time travel will be the first to do it.
Oh, okay. AI will definitely won't be the first. We definitely won't be the
Carve a
last.
tunnel directly through the Earth. Go to Jupiter and punch a lightning bolt. Yeah, that's all of our life goals right now, right, Pete?
I mean, there is always the final life goal, which is to
Stay positive.